Thanks for joining me today. I got a jam-packed day of information for you on how to put your fabric on the frame, on a rolling frame correctly. But a lot of details I want to go through, and I just want to express my love and appreciation to all of you for joining me. You guys make it so worthwhile being here every Tuesday and trying to communicate my love of quilting to you. You guys make it so much fun, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for joining me, Sandra and Jeanette. You did my stalwarts. Thank you for being a part of this, and I really appreciate it. So let me remind you, last week I did the gnome on the roam, and I just wanted you to know that the complete pattern is now available. We only had a partial one when I actually did it, when I went live. Last Tuesday at 11 o'clock, we did rebroadcast at 1 o'clock, and the gnome on the roam, the pattern is there. I hope you have fun and make one of your own and put it in your home, or give it to somebody who can just make a little nice home for little Jerome over there. So thank you for letting me, show you how to do these wonderful projects, because that's part of my love of quilting, is the creativity side of it, and you guys inspire me all the time. So let's jump in and let's start talking about putting our fabric correctly on a rolling frame, and what tools and items, and I've got some tips and tricks to help make it easier for you. And I'm going to explain some problems that you may have and why you may be having them, and how to fix those little situations that you may come across. I'm going to help, I hope, empower you as a quilter to understand how your frame works and what you need to look for and what you need to adjust. So that's my accomplishment for today, and if you glean any little thing from it, then my work is partially done. So let me jump in and start talking about a couple key items. This here is a rolling frame. It has 3 poles, and some of them can have just 2 poles. Our Q-Zone Queen has only 2 poles. It has what we call a take-up pole right here, and a front rail backing pole. So this is the pole that your backing will roll up on. This front take-up pole is the one that takes up all the layers, your batting, your backing, your top, and so we're going to talk about a few different ways to attach our quilt or our quilt layers to the frame. Some of them are really important, the bigger the quilt is, and some of them we can just get away with some little cheats, and we'll talk about that. So first of all, I want to explain, my frame is a little dirty. We're in a transition phase here at the Grace Company, and we have a lot of new exciting things coming up that I wish I could tell you about, but I can't. So just know that this is one of the frames that we have used in our classroom, and rather than using the leaders, which we should, okay, we have used tape to attach the fabric to it. Don't do it, okay? It just builds up and it's messy. But I wanted to show you how to clean your poles if you do have some gummy marks and stuff like that. So using denatured alcohol, and that's what I have here. And you're probably asking, why are you using batting, your nice batting? Well, this is just a little piece. And the reason I'm using the batting is because then I'll know if I'm getting all the gooey, gummy stuff off without the little hair fibers poking out, and I'm making it smooth. So that's why I use the batting. And I probably won't get all of this off, but I just wanted to show you how well it works. So I've got a little area right down here. Do you think we could do a close-up? It's got a lot of sticky tape on it and residue. And so I'm just going to take my alcohol, which is just wipe it back and forth. And notice that as I wipe it back and forth, it's just dissolving all that tape. And so denatured alcohol is tough on the hands, but it's great on your poles, and it will clean it up. And it's not going to take the paint off of it. So it's just a great way to clean up your poles if you want to, say, buy some new Velcro and reapply your leaders on, and maybe they're not on so straight, or maybe it's been in a hot place, and the leaders are starting to come undone. just take that denatured alcohol and just wipe it down really good. Now, some of you, if you haven't used tape and you don't have a lot of sticky residue on there, could get away with just some water by wiping them down. But I want you to get the poles as clean as possible if you are reattaching your leader claws. Now, if they're new right out of the box, good. You just need to wipe it down with soap and water, or not even soap, just some water will be really good. And then just take one of those microfiber cloths and just wipe it down. So if I had this pole all nice and clean, which I'm not going to take all the time to do, I would just take that microfiber cloth, dampen it, and just wipe it across, and then take a nice towel or something that's not going to leave a lot of residue or fibers on it, and wipe it across there as well. So maybe 2 microfiber cloths, one to wipe it down with the damp water, and the other one to wipe it dry. So that being said, I'm going to put that to the side and my alcohol to the side. All right, and now let's talk about why it's important to get your leaders on nice and straight, or to even use leaders. You're probably wondering, oh, can I get away with it? Now, if you're using a hoop frame, yeah, you could get away with it. And on a rolling frame, I'm going to say no. You need to use the leaders. Most of the rolling frames, the leaders are included in with the frame. So it's a great deal, and they really do help you put the fabric on as straight as possible. And that's what I'm going to jump in and talk to you about. Now, if you don't want to use the leaders, okay, an option is to tape or to use your quilt clips, okay? And I have done that as well. There are times when I just need to quilt a quick little section and I just don't have time to attach them to the leaders. I will wind my leaders up on top, use a quilt clip and wrap it around so I have that extra bulk, and I will show you that how to do that in just a minute. But yes, there are times that you can get away with it, but don't do it on a quilt that you're trying to be really precise and really accurate. I would say baby quilt or something like that you just need to jump in and get done. All right, so let's jump in and talk about how to attach our leaders correctly. Okay, I forgot. On a hoop frame, because it's a hoop frame and you do have the clips, you can get away without using the leaders, but your backing has to act as the leader, your backing and your batting. So you will need to make it excessively wider and longer to accommodate the lack of using the leaders. So if that's clear, we're going to jump in and start talking about attaching our quilt to the rolling frame. I've already done it on the hoop frames, but man, there's a lot more to come and things change. So just know that I've got your back and I'll work as hard as I can to show you all the different things that I know so that you can learn from my mistakes or learn from what I've learned. All right, so I've been really thinking about this, is how do I get the leaders on nice and straight? Because it's a round pole. What do? And we want to put the Velcro on as nice and straight as possible. So as I was thinking about it, and cute little Alyssa, who helps write the instructions, she is fabulous. She always has you in mind and is always thinking about what is a better way to help you, our customers, learn how to do these processes and what is easier. So she thought of a string. So attaching a string across each of these, okay, and then taping them down. I thought, well, let's go one further. Let's use a measuring tape. So don't use a heavy-duty measuring tape unless that's all you have. But what we'll do is we will do it and mark our center, because on most of these, this is a 4-foot frame because that's what we use for the classroom. But most of them have a middle section that has 2 poles coming together, and it's a joint that you have joined them together with what we call a coupler. That is the even middle section, if you have that. If you have an 8 or 10-foot frame, you have that exact centers by the little break in the pole, okay, where they come together. If you have a 12-foot frame, you have a middle section and then 2 side pieces. So that middle section is 2 feet, and it has an exact middle part, so you'll just measure out 12 inches. And then in that middle section, what you're going to do is place this end in the crack on the one side, and then measure out 12 inches. or 24, sorry, 24, because it's 2 feet. So you're going to measure out 24 and then place this on the other side, and then you're going to take your pencil or your marking pencil and mark right there. So you have a middle mark on each of your poles. It's really easy to do, so just make sure that you do that, because we're going to work just like as we pin from the center out on our quilts. We're going to do one side first, and then we're going to go and do the other side. Now, I haven't marked this pole, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece right here, and because this is 48 inches in length, I'm going to measure in, and I'm going to notice how I've hooked it up on this side on this pole. I'm going to measure in 24 inches from this side here, not the side that has the hand wheel or the ratchet wheels, but just this side here. Now, what I'm going to do is take a little piece of my marking pen. I've already lost it. It's right here. My marking pen, and I'm just going to mark right here exactly 24 inches. And that's going to be my marking line. Now I'm going to do the same thing. This one will be much easier for you to see. And I'm going to put this in place so it's not going to move on me. And I'm going to measure, and see this as I'm marking. I'm just going to measure right here. That's my 24. And then I'm going to, and this pole right here, you're wondering, oh, we only use 2 poles. Well, it's important to use 3 at times, okay? So I'm going to make sure that it's hooked, and I'm going to mark as well right here. Okay. All right, so those are my center markings, and I think they look pretty good. All right, so that's my first, okay? So let's do our measurements with our string, okay? So I'm going to cut just one piece of string. I'm going to kind of measure, and I could kind of measure 48, but I'm not going to. And I'm going to cut it. And I thought this would be easier. So I'm going to find a spot right here, and then I'm just going to tape it right on top, the exact top, and then I'm going to go down to the other end after I've taped it down and pull it so it looks like it's nice and straight, and then I can start attaching my leaders. So I'm going to take it right here, make sure it's just right on top. See how I've taken my 2 fingers and I'm just going to tape it down really good, and now I can just take it and pull it across. Okay, and this is going to be my drawing line, and it doesn't need to be all the way because my pole, and I just want to make sure it looks nice and straight, and so I'm going to kind of pull it so it looks nice and straight, and I'm going to take another piece of tape right here and tape it down. And that is what I call my chalk line. So notice that, so see that? See how nice and straight it is? And that's where I'm going to start using my mark. So now I'm ready to start attaching my Velcro, okay? So Velcro is the same way. I have measured my Velcro. So I have 3 pieces that are the same size. I have found my center of my Velcro, and this is my mark. I'm going to move my machine out of the way so you can see my mark right here. All right, hopefully you can see my mark. All right, so right here, I'm going to start undoing my Velcro. You're probably saying, well, why do you need to work from the center out? It's just going to make it that much easier for you as you are marking. And I have marked both sides of my Velcro. I've marked the paper here, but I've also marked the other side so that as I fold it, notice right there, I can set this right here on my mark, on my center mark. And then I can start undoing it. This is a little older Velcro. It's kind of been sitting around for a while. And I can use that little line with the string to help pull it nice and straight. I'm going to move my machine out of the way and just keep pulling it nice and straight. But that line really does help, And you're going to do all 3 of your poles that same way. There we go. Now I went over the holes. I wouldn't necessarily do that. I would turn it so you're not going over the holes, because if you, by chance, you have to take it down and move it to another room, you're going to have to undo the Velcro and move it. So I've used it as my alignment, but with this string here, you're not going to need to. All right, and we just want to make sure that it's nice and straight. There we go. And then I just take my fingers and I go across them. Now, if your fingers, if you don't like doing that and you have a little arthritis, what you can do is use your little 3mm Allen wrench or one of the Allen wrenches and just go across it like this and just kind of move it back and forth to secure it down real nice. There you go. Just secure it down. Just using the tools that you have, or even take this side and just tape it and move it down across it. So just use what you have, and there we go. There's our first one on. Now I can take my tape and everything and then move it to the next one and do the next one and the next one. So let me show you. So we've done the take-up pull. All right, there's this one. I kind of put that over the tape, dang it. I'll just pull that out. Okay, so I'll use another piece of tape, but here I'm going to just kind of do the same thing. These 2 are the major important ones for you to do. The third one is important for 2 reasons. It's because if you are quilting a large quilt, man, it's really going to help you keep it nice and straight as you're rolling. It really does come in handy to use all 3 poles. I know some of us think, oh, it's so much work, but you know what? We've spent so much time piecing our tops and taking time and to put the work in there, and you think of the hours that you spend, you want it quilted correctly, you want it to roll correctly. So it's worth taking a little extra time to stabilize it so it's going to roll like you need it to. All right, so now I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my next piece, and I'm going to see how I've marked the center. I'm just going to start undoing it, and I've marked the other side as well. I'm going to put that right there on that mark. I'm going to do the one side first. It's a lot easier when it's a smaller pole. But notice how that string really does. It helps me eye the distance. So this is a great technique. Try it. And I'm not saying you have to go and reattach your leaders. No, girl. If you've got them on nice and straight and they're working for you, please don't, okay? Just know that this is a way, if by chance you have to move and you have to redo them, that this idea is here for you to use. Now, don't use a sweater when you're attaching the Velcro. It sticks, okay? So I thought to myself, why am I wearing a sweater today and I'm using Velcro? And I thought, I like it, so we're good to go. All right, and then I'm going to come and do this next one. And this one just doesn't take that much time. And I'm going to turn this pole just a little bit so that this one's kind of at an angle. So you're just going to have to watch and make sure that it's nice and straight. Right there. All right, that looks good. Okay, and then I'm just going to quickly do the same thing. And this will take you no time at all, and then just get somebody in there that you can chat with, or a good movie on that you don't have to watch, that you can listen to. There are some that you just don't need to watch because you can just listen to them, or some nice music. Whatever music you like, especially Christmas music this time of year, is awesome. All right, so my Velcro's on. And And you can see that this technique, wow, a game changer and well worth it, just by taking that little extra step and adding the string. And that way I can see how I can actually, it's pulling away. I can just lift it up and reapply it and make sure my distance is the same. All right, we're done. Okay, that was the hardest part, is adding the Velcro. Now it's the easy part. Now I get to get rid of this yucky little mess right here. So don't notice what I'm going to do. Okay, I'm just going to set this right here under this table. Don't look, okay. So now it's time to attach our Velcros. Now it's really important for you to know that there are 2 styles of rolling frame, or 3 actually. There are 2 poles for one, that's our Q-zone queen. There are 3 poles for a regular quilting frame, but there's another that you can add a 4th and 5th pole. And that one is the idler pole. The idler pole sits right down here and it does nothing whatsoever, but then the take-up rail is up here in the throat of your machine. It is great if you have a machine that is 19 inches or larger. I wouldn't suggest it on a 15 or a 16-inch machine, and this is why. It is too small. You lose some quilting area, and you really don't want to lose that when you're using your 15 or 16-inch machine or smaller. Now, when you're using a 21 or a 19, you can afford to lose just a little bit, but just understand and know that it's really important that you will lose that quilting area and that you will understand that. Now, if you have a 16-inch machine and you think, I don't care, that's fine, but as long as you realize that you will lose some quilting area and understand that and are willing to work with the loss of that quilting area, go for it, okay? So the idler rail just sits right down here, then the take-up pole is up here, and it's what actually your fabric will roll under and up to the top with the take-up pole, and then it will start rolling in that section. And that's why you won't need to adjust your sides up and down, and that's what the idler rail does. It allows you to not have to do that extra little step of raising and lowering your pole as you're quilting. So let's put the fabric on. So first of all, if you have an idler pole, you will want to use your widest piece on the idler pole. So it will be this piece here. And you'll just measure and fold it in the center and mark, okay? That's if you have an idler pole. If you don't, then your widest piece of leader is going to go on the pole that holds your top, okay? And you want to make sure that you understand how your rail turns. This one turns opposite of these, okay? So it's turning that direction. So when I put my my leader on, I want to make sure that it doesn't turn on top of itself. So I am going to put the leader on like this. So I'm going to put it center to center, and I'm going to attach it down. Really easy, really slick. Okay, that's where the widest one goes. And then the second widest one goes on this pole here, okay? But it goes over this way. This is how it rolls. Now, if you want to know how it rolls, which direction, you need to check the ratchets. So lock it into place, and if you can't turn it this direction, then it's rolling this direction. So it'll roll the way the ratchet stop is in place. This one, is rolling this direction. That's why I attached it that way. So let me undo it. So now I'm going to put this one on top, and I didn't mark my center, so let me hurry and mark my center. So I'm working from the center out. And I like to mark both sides. And I should have marked both the top and the bottom, but I didn't. So on this one right here, I'm going to make sure that I am marking the top and the bottom, because I'm going to have to take that other one off and mark it as well. So when you're marking, mark both the top and the bottom, okay, and both sides so you know where the center is. So I'm just going to come around and mark like that. Okay, there's my center. That one I'll have to take off, but I'm going to put this one on this way, and I'm going to attach it. There we go. All right, and let me mark my center on this one. I can just quickly take this off and mark the bottom piece, because as I put my top on, I want to make sure that I start from the center and work my way out. And if you fold it, you'll know where your center is. That's the front side. That's the back side. And you're probably saying, well, why do you do the back side too? It's just in case. Now, we've been making frames a long, long time. And how they have changed and how we attach the fabric has changed. But when we're making leaders or accessories like this, we have to consider our older frames. And we needed them to work for a long time with our older frames. Now we've gone to some newer style frames, and not so much, because more people are changing, swapping out, and updating their frames. Okay, notice that on these two, that the Velcro was attached to the back of the leader. On the newer ones, it's attached to the front, okay? Because this is the take-up rail, and because it rolls towards you and you want to see not the numbers, just the markings, then that's why we changed it. And instead of it being attached to the back, it's now attached to the front, which is awesome. All right, so I've made my marks. And that's the only thing that's really different, and it just seems to throw people off. And I'm sorry it throws you off. It wasn't meant to do that, but it was just meant to have it so it rolls correctly as you're rolling. So we're going to line up, and you can see I'm just putting my marks to marks, my center to center, and I'm just lining that up. Okay. So now we are done attaching our leaders. All right, that was quick and easy. And I did a lot of talking during that. So let me just grab this marker cap, because I don't want it to dry out. It's not mine, it's Brian's. He may be a little upset with me if I let it dry out. So, okay, we don't need my string anymore. We're done with these. So I'm going to set them over here as well. And now we're going to start attaching our fabric. All right. All right, so let's start attaching our fabric. Now, I marked my center right here. So I'm going to take my backing. It's the first thing I'm going to attach on a rolling frame. I'm going to take my backing piece, and I'm going to find the center on the top and the bottom. All right, so this is something that you can do when you're measuring it out, or you could do it here at the frame. Okay, let's talk about backings and piece backings really quick, okay? Notice I left the selvage on one side because I wanted to talk about selvages. And if you have a quilt that is not rolling nice and straight, and it has a piece backing, there could be a problem with how you sewed the two pieces of backing together. And let me tell you some of the things that you need to understand. If you have left the selvages on, they make it pull tighter. So it's going to pull tighter in the center if you've sewn two of those together than on the outer edges of the quilt. If you will cut the selvages off, it will roll, and iron them open, it will roll more evenly. So always remember to cut your selvages off. The selvage is an edge to stop it from fraying, so it's more densely woven, and so it does not going to allow any give whatsoever, so that's why maybe yours is not rolling correctly. The next thing you need to remember is your stitches per inch. If you are using a really small SPI and sewing your two pieces together, it's going to bunch up and be smaller and more dense and more compact in that, and it's not going to roll as evenly. So increase your SPI to a larger stitch and stitch them together, and maybe make it almost, I don't know, you can choose, but then iron your seam open all the way down, and I promise it will roll more straight and more evenly. So make sure that you're increasing your SPI to a larger stitch, and you're cutting off your salvages and ironing your seams open. And nothing wrong with that, and it just roll much easier and more beautifully all the way around, and you won't get as much wonky, uneven rolling from the center out. Okay? So we found the center on the top here. All right, I'm doing too much talking and I'm sorry, but important information here. That's the center, and I'm not going to find the center on my bottom yet, okay? So now, as I'm pinning, I found my center mark. I'm going to match up my center to center, and notice how I'm holding up my leader. I have that nice hem here. I'm just going to hold it in place, and I am going to start pinning from the center out. Now, the closer you pin it together, the more evenly, again, it will roll. If you leave wide gaps, and I'm going to show you, if you say, oh, I don't have that many pins, and I've done this before too, and you're going to leave a wide gap, see the difference between how it's going to pull and roll. It's going to add an extra little pull on this, and you're going to get little holes where it's not going to keep rolling evenly. So the closer together, and I'm not saying you have to put them on top of each other, but make sure you have the pins close enough that you're not going to have any wide gaps. All right. And just keep going all the way across. And say my leaders are a little shorter. Now pins that are bent like this is the same thing. Get rid of them. You don't want them. You want a straight pin. I know we try not to waste things, but you want a straight pin because you want it to roll nice and even. Especially on quilts that you have worked hours and hours on. Really, take the time, do it right, get rid of those bent pins. You don't need them. We could just buy some new ones. They're not that expensive. And I don't think they'll be upset at the landfill with a bent pin. But you never know. All right. And stay rolling. So if I decided that I felt like I wanted to pin this edge, it's not going to, you're going to get little puckers and wrinkles. So make sure that you're pinning and stay pinning and not skip any steps as you're pinning, and go to the edge and start doing it, because I promise you will get wrinkles and you'll have to redo it. I'm just saving you the heartache of learning from what I've learned, okay? So don't do it. Just keep pinning all the way across, and now you're good to go. So now, all I have to do is pin my bottom side really quick. Sorry, don't look at how dirty our floor is. Real quick to the backing. The one that holds the backing pole, and now I'm just going to lift it up. Same thing, I have my center marked, and I'm going to start pinning from the center out. And you're saying, oh man, this is boring. Well, it's important boring. Okay. Oh, Tammy's asked, I have been using safety pins. So is it better to use regular straight pins or safety pins? You can choose. I've just been used to big old straight pins, but I know a lot of quilters use safety pins. It's just a little longer for the safety pins, but maybe it's not. I haven't really tried them. But also, you want it to be a nice size safety pin so it's a little easier. And you know what? Paula says she loves pinning, so do I. I don't mind it. It's just one of those little things that I just love quilting so much that it doesn't bother me whatsoever. So safety pins or regular pins, I don't care. Just as long as you work from the center out and you're good to go. So what works best for you. See, you've taken a process, you've learned, and you've learned how to make it your own process. So do what you love to do. I'm just giving you some little pointers to help you move a little quicker through your quilting. It doesn't take me long to put a quilt on, and I really enjoy the fact that I'm a lot faster now than when I first started, because I understand how the frame works and the functions of the poles, and I understand how the rolling affects the quilting, and just learn to understand how your frame works. So if you get a new one for Christmas, don't let your husband or somebody else, or hire somebody to set it up for you. You tackle the job if you can. I'm not saying you have to, but boy, what a great way to learn how the frame functions and works by setting it up. I can't tell you how rewarding it is to be able to accomplish. It's like putting oil in your car the first time, or changing a tire. It's almost empowering to know that you have the abilities to conquer those little obstacles that get in the way. So, okay, so now I have my backing on, and I'm going to roll up my excess onto this pole here. And I'm just going to take it and roll it. And I'm just going to make sure that it doesn't have its wrinkles. And notice, now when I get to this piece right here, I want to make sure that it's rolling nice and straight. There we go. And I want to look for wrinkles. And I'm going to kind of pull any wrinkles that I can find from the center out. There we go. And look how nice it's rolling and how straight it's rolling. And the truth will be told as we get to this point here and we start seeing that we have it on pretty darn straight. And look at. All right, and I just want to undo a little bit because I want to roll this up. And now I want to leave a little excess showing. I'm going to lock that into place now. And I'm going to roll this. And look at how nice and straight and even. Okay? If you'll follow those steps, you'll have a beautiful backing. Just make sure you remember my little tips for 2 pieces of backing. That's even for 2 or 3 pieces. I don't care. How tight does it have to be rolled? Okay. That's a difference of opinion, and it's really a personal preference, okay? If you're doing tight, dense quilting, it doesn't matter if you have it a little tighter. But if your quilting is separated, say 8 to 10 inches apart, then I would leave it a little looser, all right? So just make sure that you're not rolling it so tight that you'll get puckers when you take it off. You just need to maybe experiment and understand what batting you're using, how dense you want it, and things like that. Remember, we're pulling it this direction. We're not pulling it all 4 directions, okay? So the tighter that you pull it, the more the fibers will close together and the harder it is for your needle to get down in. And so you don't want to do it so dang tight that it kind of hurts your hands. Yes, we use the bungee clamps, and I'm going to show you the side tension. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the bungees here with me, but I'm going to show you how to use the side tension because it's really important. Okay, now, the bungees are great. However, they have a tendency to get in the way. When I want you just to use a little piece of fabric, and we're going to call that your side leader fabric, okay? And you're just going to pin that, fold it, and on the folded edge, you're going to pin down. You're going to put 2 or 3 pins down on each side. And this way, it's going to pull more evenly and give you that little excess that you need where the bungees aren't going to get in the way. So if you'll use that, wow, it's a game changer, and it'll keep your sides nice and straight and even. All right, so let's put the batting on. Now the batting, you can put it on a batting pole, but I'm not going to. Let's talk about battings really quick, okay? There's a right side and a wrong side to batting. It has a scrim side, and then it has the side, and the scrim side is the side that faces down on your backing. So notice on this, okay? This is a bamboo batting. It's a beautiful batting but it's not one of my favorites, and I'll tell you why. Because it's slick and it moves, it has movement. So unless you're stabilizing each of your blocks, I wouldn't use it. Now, this is the side that's is supposed to be up. It's the non-scrim side. This side right here, I don't know if we can even get in, is the scrim side. It's a little smoother, and it has what we call a scrim on the backing. That's so as the needle penetrates the batting, it's not going to pull through and give you what we call bearding. And nobody likes bearding, okay? So it's really important that you do put your batting on correctly. It is made to use this way, so make sure that you look at it. And if you need better light, man, the light bars were on sale. I think they still are, so check out all the great sales that we have. If you need extra leaders, now's the time to jump in and do it. All right, so now I'm just gonna put my batting on, but you know me, I like a double layer. So you're going to do the same thing with the next layer. You're going to look for the scrim side, and you're just going to lay it on top, okay? So that as it's penetrating. Now it's really easy because the batting's folded up, just to use it with its fold. It's not the way it's meant to be used, so use it correctly and you'll have better results. You won't have that bearding. Okay. Next, let's push this batting to the back so that I can see my leaders. Okay, now I've pushed the batting to the back so I can see my leader for my top, okay? So with this, I'm just going to kind of lay, this is easy. It's not as easy for you. I'm just going to kind of lay my top on. But with this one, because I can hold this up like this, and you could do the same thing and kind of lay your top on and get it all nice and straight, and then kind of do it in little folds like this. And then you'll bring your leader up and you can start pinning from the center out. And see how I'm doing this? I'm just going to start pinning. Now I haven't found my center yet, so I really want to find my center on my top. So I'm just going to fold it over, find my center, and then I'm going to quickly pin this. Now, this is the way. So let me just show you first, before I pin this on, what you would do if you were floating your top and your batting, okay? I would use my quilt clips, and it's good to have both sizes, okay? And I would start clipping them on. But with the floating, that being said, you have a tendency to get a little more shift in your top and your batting. So to have your top pinned to your leader, it might really be helpful. I've done it both ways, so just do it the way you like it. Now on little small projects, I would probably float. But on my larger quilts that I need them to roll more accurate and more straight, I am going to pin it to my top leader, and this is how I'm going to do it. Like I showed you, I found my center, going to bring it up and start pinning, okay? And then this is just really going to help you make sure and ensure that your quilt is rolling nice and straight. And it's not hard to do. Just put it in folds and start pinning across. And that's all you have to do. And once it's done, this will just ensure it. Now, I want to quickly, so I'm not going to finish this up. I just want to quickly show you the importance of, so I'm just going to leave that. And then you'll just roll this up, okay? So it's going to roll this direction, okay? As you're rolling it up. You're going to quickly roll that up. So, I know I've gone a little long-winded, but I wanted to show you the take-up pole or the idler pole position, okay? If you're using an idler pole, you want to make sure that it's just, your finger can get under there, okay? You don't want it too high, but you don't want it too low that it's rubbing, okay? And the reason is if I have my pole up too high, and I don't have this even threaded, okay? If I have it up too high, I want you to notice what happens as the needle goes up and down and what happens to the fabric. How much play and movement you get in your fabric if you don't have it positioned correctly. So I'm going to exaggerate it, but we sometimes forget that after we take a quilt off to reposition our pole back down to where it needs to be. So that's why I wanted to show you. So when I turn this on, in fact, I'm going to even put these up as well because I want to exaggerate the movement. So when I turn it on, see how much play and how much movement I'm going to get. In fact, even a little more than what it's showing right now. And then we just don't want that. So if we have it down, and actually having that extra layer of batting kind of buffers that. So it wasn't a good example of showing you. But if we have it nice and even, just to where we can barely get our fingers down underneath, then you're not going to get as much play and movement in the fabric, and it's going to sew that much nicer and be more stable. And notice that this is up too high, how I have a slant. So just make sure that it's nice and even. There we go. And you're just going to have an overall better experience. Okay, Tammy asks, I've never used 2 layers of batting. Does it make the quilt heavier? Yes, it does. It also gives it, when I'm using rulers, or it gives it a little extra loft in areas that I like the little puffiness to the design elements that it brings. So that's why I like a double layer. And now try it out once, see what you like, and then just experiment. This is a fun way to experiment and enjoy quilting. There's so many aspects of quilting that are so much fun. There's a whole world and a whole new year that I get to show you tips and tricks and techniques that I love to use. So we're going to take a couple of weeks off, but I want you to join me next year when we have a great outline. I'm going to start out with a baby quilt. It's a little fox baby quilt. It's called Maverick the Fox Baby Quilt that I specifically made for my son's, one of his dearest friends, and they just had a sweet little baby that they called Maverick. And so I designed this little fox, and he is the cutest fox. So I will have the pattern for the first week, and we will cut and sew it together. The next few weeks, I'm going to show you different ways to quilt it, and then we're going to finish the final week of January with a question and answer, and I would love for you to show me what you're working on and what you're doing. So join me, because I've got a lot of ideas and a lot of ways to quilt, and I know some of you are waiting on emails from me. I will get those to you, I promise. And so just make sure you email me with your questions. I got one that was really good today. She asked me if I would do a segment on threads and needles. Yes, I will love to. So make sure you email me, Karla with a K, K-A-R-L-A, at graceframe.com. And I'm here for you. I'm here to help you along your quilting journey as you help me through mine. So join me next year, January 10th. For Tuesdays with Grace, and thank you so much for all you do for the Grace Company. Make sure you check out all those wonderful sales we have going on, and add to that goodie bag. We've got extra leaders. Man, the world's yours. Thanks. We'll see ya. Bye-bye.